Hello everyone, I am Usha Kiran Bushal and today I will be presenting on the climate vulnerability of Nepal's Raute people, who are also the country's last nomadic tribe. My focus is on how climate change has impacted in their livelihood, their vulnerability factor and just adaptation pathway to support their survival and rights. Now let's begin with exploring who they are. In Nepal, they are known as King of Forest who lives in mid-hills of western Nepal. Their entire livelihood and culture is dependent on forest. They hunt monkey and collect yam, tubers, mushroom and vegetable for food. They never own land and move across forest area. They relocate their shelter in every season, generally in lower subtropical forest in winter and in higher altitude in the monsoon season. Besides this, they also migrate if death occurs in their community. They live in temporary tent house built from forest materials like wood, leaves and straw. Their economy is non-monetary and forest-based. Raute people craft wood balls and tools called kathia, which they trade for grains and other goods in their community. On the basis of 2021 census of Nepal, there are altogether 150 individual Raute people living nomadic life. Now, let's look at the impacts of climate change on Raute communities. Increasing unpredictable monsoon and rising temperature has disrupted their seasonal availability of food and water. This has affected the growth of tubers, fruiting trees, and the abundance of monkey on which their diet rely on. Climate change has also altered forest composition. Raute rely on softwood like Shora robusta and acacia species for crafting. As these trees become scarce, their livelihood is economically affected. In June 2013, heavy rainfall triggered for flood and landslide in western part of country, forcing Raute settlement to migrate. Besides this, they depend on ecological clues like rainfall to decide where and when to move. An irregular pattern disrupt their entire migration cycle. Wildfire risk has also increased due to hotter, drier conditions, which has threatened their temporary shelters. Raute people avoid modern medicines and rely on medicinal herbs like silk cotton and long pepper, and the forest fire has destroyed their sapling. Raute never built infrastructures like well and tank and instead depend on natural spring water, and drying of spring water has forced them for longer migration to find reliable water resources. The Raute are highly vulnerable to climate change due to a combination of exposure, limited adaptation options, and multiple stressors. Raute are entirely dependent on forests for everything, and because they live outdoor in temporary shelters without any infrastructures, they are exposed directly to environmental changes. And any disruptions to forest system like rainfall variability, wildfire, or species decline has immediate and tangible effect on their survival. Secondly, they have limited adaptive capacity. Cultural resilience to farming and settlement, combined with the lack of education, healthcare, and legal land rights, prevent them from adopting most conventional climate adaptation strategies. And thirdly, they face multiple stressors. Deforestation, road construction, social exclusion, and change in plans and policies make their situation worse. For example, after the Bardia National Park was established in 1988, their mobility was restricted, cutting them off from one of their key settlement areas. Addressing the climatic variability require a just oriented approaches. First, they need formal recognition of indigenous rights that include secure forest access and mobility. Second, adaptation strategies should integrate traditional knowledge with climate science, allowing the router to participation in shaping response. Thirdly, any support must respect their cultural autonomy, enabling adaptation without forcing assimilation. Finally, we must apply a climate justice framework that centers equity, participation, and indigenous leadership in adaptation policy. Thank you.